Ah, man. It is a lovely Tuesday afternoon, February 7th. Is that right?
Yep, February 7th.
February 7th in Los Angeles, California. Welcome to the Big Brown Breakdown, UFC 208. And things are, well, I'm not going to say great. Been a little bit under the weather. I had a guy come to the crib last night. Have you heard of this? It's like an IV thing. They're big in Vegas.
No.
Where if you have a hangover,
yeah.
You can do it for hangover. You can do it for sickness too. And in LA, I did it before I fought Matt Mitrione, UFC 165. The week of the fight, I was deathly ill, super sick. And so I went to go get an IV. I drove all the way down to the valley to get it done. It was crazy expensive. Stupid how much it costs. But I felt so much better. And now I've been a little sick. Not crazy, just like a head cold. And so I was like, man, one of those IVs would be dope. I don't want to drive down there and drop that kind of money, though, on that bullshit. And so I was just scouring the internet, and then I saw this site. And I forget what they're called. Rally something. I posted the picture. You can find it on my Instagram who I used. But I found them. They come to the house. He came within an hour. 2 IVs full of vitamins. Doing all right now, man.
Does that stuff really make you feel better?
It really does.
Crap.
I know. I don't have time to be sick, unfortunately. With the kiddo, things going on, leaving town Thursday. And this will be the first time. My man Chin is nasty with the camera, so we're going to do a behind-the-scenes Find the Kids, San Francisco, Cobb's Comedy Club. We got a busy schedule out there. I'm doing like a TED Talk-ish thing for GoPro Friday, which you'll be able to get some of that. And then we got the live shows in San Francisco, tfatk.com. There should be few tickets left. I know our comps they released for sale because we're not using any comps. So they released our comps for sale on Thursday. So there's tickets now available for barely any for the Thursday show and still tickets available for Friday show, but both are almost sold out. So go to tfatk.com right now if you're listening to this bad mamma jamma. Other than that, things are good, man. I'm like Wolverine. I'll be 100% healthy by tomorrow, I think.
How long did it take you to do that IV? How long do you have to be stuck to it?
I was there he was there about an hour. The only downside is you're hanging out with a male nurse and he's just yapping my ear off at 9 o'clock at night. I was like, you know what, Gaylord Fokker, how about you kick rocks or maybe get on your phone so you don't ask me a million MMA questions at 9 o'clock at night. It's dope, though. I'm glad I did it. I do feel a little better.
As long as you feel better.
I know, man. It's been a busy week, man, in MMA. There's a lot going on. And before we break down the 208 card, I got to be honest. I was looking at the last few days. It's not that bad of a card. I went bad on it a little bit, and I'm looking at, there's no huge draws. It's going to do shit pay-per-view wise as far as buys, but I'm looking at like, well, that's a fun fight. Well, that's a fun fight. This one's pretty good. That'll be a fun fight. So I think it's one of those cards where the casual fans are like, hell no, I'm not paying $70 for that. But those who do buy it, they're going to get their money's worth because it's a fun main card. It's a lot of fun. I was looking at it, and you guys know me, I'm a bit of a hater. And this one, it's actually really well done. So I just want to say that before we break it down towards the end of the show, I'm not mad at this card. I stand by though that last week's Super Bowl card was shit. I don't care what anyone says. I don't think that was a very well thought out card. This one is more well thought out. I just think they're going through a transition period right now where I don't know. They're just. It's a bit of a transition period where they're just trying to figure out who's doing what, maybe where the matchups, and you can tell with these cards. Dana would never let these two cards happen, never. Because if you look at the card, you got Holly Holm versus Jermaine Durandamy is your main event in a class that's never happened. Holly Holm's lost 2 in a row. Jermaine Durandamy's wins are not great. Then you got old Anderson Silva. And that's your sellers. You got a girl who's 0-2 and a 41-year-old Anderson Silva hyping this pay-per-view. So they're just in a transition period. I don't think it's, Armageddon for the UFC, but they need to get their shit together. I was bummed out. I was listening to, when I work out, I listen to podcasts. A lot of people listen to music, sometimes listen to music, but if I'm doing long runs, I'll listen to podcasts. If I'm writing, a set or something for one of my comedy shows, I listen to classical music. That's how I come up with concepts, stuff like that. But I was listening to, I went through all my podcasts, right? I went through all of Rogan. I went through all of my other stuff, the TED Talks. And I was listening to Ariel Helwani, which I got to admit, I don't listen to a lot. I usually listen to Luke Thomas or something like that. And I was listening to his show because I got to be honest, I don't give a shit about fighter interviews. It does nothing for me. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't care. Like, pre-game, post-game, I don't give a shit. Like, the pre-game of, hey, DC, how do you think you're going to be Anthony Johnson? I'm better than him. Look, all that means nothing. And they have to say stuff they don't want to say. I don't give a fuck about that. You can tell when it's real, when it's not. I like when it's real. So it doesn't do it for me. I love Ariel, but those interviews don't do it for me. But I was listening to Demian Maia, his interview. I didn't get past his interview. I was listening to Demian Maia. And you want to talk about heartbreaking? That guy, on why he should get the next title shot and him trying to sell himself, bring up his record. Bring up Demian Maia. What the fuck? At 170, how is this guy not? And the fight's in what, 2 weeks? When is that? No, 3 weeks. UFC 2, because he's UFC 209, right? Because we're doing the big round breakdown. March.
Is it at least 3 weeks?
Is it 3 weeks?
At least 3 weeks.
Okay, so whenever it is, it's fairly freaking soon. He won't be at the event. He has no idea. Let's just go through what he's done. So, God damn it. So, Alexander Yakovlev, he beat. Ryan LaFleur, he beat. Neil Magny, submission. Remember, that was when Neil was fucking lightning hot, on fire. And he cut through him like warm butter. Neil, I know you're listening. I love you, man, but you got smoked in that fight. Gunnar Nelson, right? Jiu-Jitsu, man. Oh, Jiu-Jitsu is your thing? Check this out. Outclassed Gunnar Nelson. Remember, at the time, let's just go through this. Neil Magny, monster at the time. Starched. Not even a competition. Gunnar Nelson, starched. Was the hotness at the time, too. Matt Brown, starched. Submits Matt Brown. Carlos Condit, monster. Not in his prime, but fucking monster. Choke. So you have submission, decision, Gunnar Nelson, but he controlled him. Submission. And he's doing it the old school way, which I think is fascinating. He's doing it like, just like the Gracie's intended. He's using jiu-jitsu fundamentals. He's striking when it's appropriate, but his main goal is to get you down and choke you out. Mm-hmm. Not to hurt you, but choke. His goal, he goes, I just want to get in there and not hurt my opponent and get the win. And he's doing it a classy way in this world where, WME owns them and it's the, entertainment and the biggest shit talkers jumping to the front of the line. And then you got a guy who's won, was that 6 in a row?
6 in a row.
At the welterweight division. Not only has he won 6 in a row, but he's been fighting the UFC for 8 years, maybe 9 years? How long has he been in the UFC? He got in the UFC in 2007. 10 years. He's been fighting the UFC for 10 years. He's one of the best jiu-jitsu practitioners of all time. Probably top 3 ever in the UFC. Yeah, Jacare, you got him. I'm having a hard time. I'm having a real hard time figuring out what he has to do to get a title shot. Because if the UFC's sitting around, the new owners, and they're looking over 2017, they go, okay, at welterweight, what's next? Will you bring up the rankings for welterweight for me? You go, what's next? Who the fuck is overlooking Demian Maia? Who is pitching him to them? Because if you're going, he's just a jiu-jitsu guy, he's pretty boring, his English isn't great. His English is really good. Better than Yoel Romero's, who you're giving a title shot to. His English is really good, and he's been a staple on the roster for a long time. Whose fault is it you're not selling him? Who does that fall on? Not Demian Maia, because he's choking the best in the world out right and left. And you can't guarantee him a title shot, and he's not turning anything down, but the fight's coming up pretty soon. They're not even flying him into the event. So there's a good chance there's not next. So whose responsibility is it to sell Demian Maia? Demian Maia's taking care of business. He's won 6 in a row. Who's that fall on, Chin?
UFC.
Probably the UFC. And I think, I don't know how they're doing. I have no idea how they're doing. Maybe they're doing this. Or maybe they're not. It doesn't appear so. But my advice would be, not that they give 2 flying fucks, but my advice would be is every Monday, they need to sit around and go through each division, and someone has to have a responsibility to pitch why this guy should be the next title shot, why they should focus marketing dollars on this guy, why they should focus promotional opportunities with this guy, why they should pitch this guy to Monster, why they should pitch this guy to Harley Davidson, why this guy should be on UFC tonight, why this guy should be at the Super Bowl. Why Demian Maia's not even in the conversation is mind-blowing. Look at the division, man. Look at the division. He smoked the number 13 in the world. He smoked the number 9 in the world. He smoked the number 7 in the world. He smoked the number 4 in the world. He's ranked number 3 right now. And looking at it, my money would be on him if he fought Robbie Lawler. The fight against Wonderboy would be a tough one for him. But let's say in this weird MMA world, Stephen Wonderboy Thompson beats Woodley, which is very possible. They went to a draw last time, for God's sakes. Let's say Thompson wins. You have the best striker in UFC history as far as credentials, knockouts, fought for the title. He's on a crazy win, and he's all stand-up. Doesn't even want to sniff the ground. You say ground, and he pisses his pants, right? And then you have Demian Maia, really doesn't want to even touch the ground, or touch the stand-up game.
Not anymore.
Best practitioner of jiu-jitsu by far at 170, and the top 3 of all time. So you're going back to 1993, the old school classic days. This is a marketing dream. Oh my God, it's a fucking. Are you kidding me? The build up to this. You can show old videos of Gracie coming up and the guys fighting in the gi and just pure jiu-jitsu versus a stand-up guy. Then you got videos of a stand-up guy doing work. Like it's awesome. It's coming full circle. But it's a modern day, basically 1993 UFC match where Wonderboy Thompson versus Demian Maia. I would watch that. Now, whose responsibility is to fucking educate the fans on both those guys? And I'm sure because obviously they care about pay-per-view and they get this big $4 billion nut, so they're worried about ratings. Hate to tell you, Woodley versus Thompson's not a panty dropper. Woodley's not a panty dropper. Thompson's not a panty dropper. Robbie Lawler was not a panty dropper. Carlos Condit, unless he fought GSP, not a panty dropper. Jorge Masvidal, not a panty dropper. Dong Hung Kim, not a panty dropper. Neil Magny, no. Donald Cerrone, a little bit, but he's coming off a loss. He's ranked number 8, so we can't sell that. Gunnar Nelson, he's not selling tickets. Johnny Hendricks sure as fuck ain't selling tickets. Tarek Safdie, you what? Ellenberg, nope. Matt Brown, nope. And then after that, get the fuck out of my face. So there's no argument there. No one on there is a fucking panty dropper. There's not one. So you can't say Demian Maia doesn't deserve it, and you can't say, well, based off entertainment value, we can't sell him. Cut the shit. You got the best jiu-jitsu practitioner in the world who's won 6 in a row. He's done everything that you should do. And what's the one thing people give a fuck about? You can talk all the stuff you want. He could have the mouthpiece of Conor McGregor, but if you don't win, we don't care. Talk all the shit you want, but unless you're getting it done the octagon, no one gives a fuck. He's getting it done. What people like is a winner. They love a winner. Demian Maia is a winner. It's an easy sell. God damn it. Who is his manager? Put a marketing deck together and fucking, I would go to WME tomorrow morning and fucking have a whole layout on why he deserves the title shot if that's what it takes. He's not getting any younger either. And he shouldn't fight Jorge Masvidal. That's fucked up. He shouldn't have to fight Robbie Lawler. No, he's won 6 in a row. And also, he's been a staple of the UFC. Forever. But the new guys probably don't know that. The new guys probably can't spell jiu-jitsu. The new guys probably don't know where he's from in Brazil. And remember, the Brazilian market is enormous. Who's the biggest Brazilian champ right now? Let's just say who's the biggest Brazilian right now. I guess you got Aldo going through his shit. He's the interim champ in some weird world. He's the interim champ right now. You got Dos Anjos. You got Fabricio's probably the biggest. You got Jacare. So they still have a huge hold in as far as Brazil in the market. Claudia Gadeja, but she's not really a draw, but you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Don't forget Brazil, man. Do not forget Brazil. That's a huge market. Huge market. And what he would do for the country of Brazil and jiu-jitsu, man. Jiu-jitsu. He's not hurting anybody in jiu-jitsu. It's brilliant. It's brilliant. It's a marketing dream. Imagine the promo, Demian Maia in a gi and fucking Wonderboy Thompson with one glove on. You know what I'm saying? With old school.
Yeah.
And that's your promo poster. Be sick, man.
Striker.
What do I know, though? What the fuck do I know?
Until you went down the list and started talking about,
who else you gonna give it to?
big pay-per-view buys, whatever.
Who else you gonna give it to?
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
There's no draw on there. 70 is... There's no draw on there. I would love to see Jorge Masvidal versus Robbie Lawler. I'd love to see that fight.
Badass.
Neither one of them have a date. Neither one of them have a dance coming up. I'd love to see that. I'd love to see Jorge versus Wonderboy Thompson if he were to lose. But Jorge should not leapfrog Demian Maia. You're fucking crazy. I love Jorge too. What he did against Donald was amazing. But remember, he was 15, beat Donald. Now he's number 5. You don't leapfrog a guy like Demian Maia. Demian Maia beat number 4 guy, number 7 guy, number 9 guy, number 13 guy. I mean, look. It's crazy, man. I don't know how I got started on this tangent, but...
You heard that interview and you got passionate about it.
Just clicked in my head. I was like, God damn it, it's embarrassing. Because he's just like, I deserve it. I've been to the last 2 UFCs because I thought they'd bring me up. I don't want to beg him to fly me in. I'm like, what? This is a world-class athlete. You're talking about a 1%er. This guy's like, I hope I get it. And they're like, have they offered to? He's like, no. I don't know. Maybe they're just, maybe they're dealing with other shit.
He was like, I heard part of the interview too, and I think for the first time ever, I could be wrong, I heard him say the word shit. Like he was just
really?
Angry. He was like, I don't talk shit. Even that was kind of shocking, right? For him to say shit.
Dude, after I lost that fight in Brazil, UFC 134 in Brazil to Nogueira, I stayed a week after Brazil with my family, and I was not doing well, man. I was like a fat girl on a treadmill. I was struggling, son. In Brazil, I was not doing well, and I was at a Brazilian bar, just drinking my sorrows away with my buddy Klopp and my brother, and I forget who else was there. Maybe my coach Leister, and I am in the dumps. And Demian Maia came up and gave me a hug. It's pretty cool, man. I was like, I really need this right now, man. I know you don't speak a lick of English, but I appreciate this.
Oh, he didn't speak English back then?
It wasn't great.
Well,
yeah, it wasn't great. Yeah, not well. But I'll never forget
man.
that. And that's not why I just went on this rant about him. I went on the rant because it's fucking justified.
It is justified, and he's a great guy.
Yeah, I mean, he's a winner. He's a straight-up winner. What else you got, man? That wasn't even a what else you got. That was just me. I don't know what the fuck got into me. That's what you get on these big brown breakdowns.
That was great, though. I like that.
A little bit of a tangent. Hopefully someone's listening.
I'm sure they're listening.
Mm-hmm.
All right, the first current event is Stipe Miocic versus Junior Dos Santos Part 2. It's going to be for UFC 211.
I like this. Where's 211?
In Dallas, May 13.
The Big D, May 13. Because it's Stipe's last loss. A lot of people thought he won that fight. It was such a good fight. Do you remember that fight, JDS Stipe? God damn it!
It was like a
war.
crazy boxing
match. Oh my
match,
god,
right?
It was a war. I would say most people had Stipe winning that fight. To be honest with you,
I really don't remember who was winning that fight.
God damn, it was a good fight. Amazing fight. Yeah, it's his last loss. 3 years ago, December 2014. I like the fight. I mean, because he was supposed to fight. Well, yeah, they didn't get to Verdum because Verdum and Kane were supposed to fight, correct? And then Kane got hurt, so Verdum's on the shelf. Verdum also came out, talks a little bit of shit, right? So then JDS is the next. I like it, but because remember, Junior Dos Santos is supposed to fight Struve.
Man, my brain is scrambled right now.
Mine's a little scrambled too. But Junior Dos Santos and Struve were supposed to fight.
Crap. So who's
and then they took
Struve
him
is
off.
fighting someone now, though, right?
Yeah, and then Struve is fighting.
Oh, so on Struve's Wikipedia says he was supposed to fight him.
Yeah,
Junior Dos
he was
Santos.
supposed to. Oh yeah, and then Struve got hurt. He pulled out because his shoulder got hurt.
I didn't even know that.
Yeah, he pulled out because his shoulder got hurt. I mean, and then JDS gets the rematch. It just worked out weird.
Okay,
I think it's the right. Junior, click on Junior for me.
Mm-hmm. I remember Fabricio was like talking smack and wanting to rematch.
You may call him
Junior.
a homosexual.
Yeah.
Remember Junior Santos' first UFC fight was against Verdum. He murked him with an uppercut.
So fast.
Yeah, so I mean, so JDS lost to Overeem, but then so he beat Stipe, lost to Overeem, and then he looked freaking amazing against Ben Rothwell. He hasn't fought in a while though. I mean, I don't mind this fight at all. I don't mind it at all. I think it makes sense. Stipe's last loss, it was a fucking nail biter. I thought Stipe might have edged him out on the fight anyways. Mm-hmm. I like it. Would you rather have I kind of prefer that over Verdum. We saw Verdum kind of get murked, and I love Verdum, but this is a more intriguing matchup.
I think this is way more competitive.
The fight, the biggest fight they can make in the heavyweight division is Cain Velasquez versus Stipe. But obviously Cain has to get healthy, probably has to fight Verdum again to validate that and then go. Because Cain beat the bejesus off Junior Dos Santos. Just beat the brakes off him twice in a row after that. So Cain wouldn't have to rematch a fourth fight with JDS. Get that out of my face. Hey, I'm looking straight at the camera, the barrel of the camera right now. Do not do Cain JDS 4. Fuck you if the new owners do that. I will not pay to watch that. So Cain won't have to do that. So Cain will have to fight Verdum once he's healthy, get through him, and then, God willing, MMA God, Stipe's still the champ. Because Stipe versus Cain is such a good matchup. They're very similar. Oh, my God. That's my dream fight at heavyweight, man.
Wow.
Such a fun fight. What else you got, man?
I'm just envisioning Stipe and Junior Dos Santos just knocking each other's heads the entire 5 rounds.
And then it goes to wrestling.
But it's gonna be like, it'll make me feel weird about that whole brain trauma and stuff. Because the first one made me feel weird about it too.
Yeah, brain trauma get you.
Yeah,
it'll make you feel bad. It's like Stipe's the white version of Cain, and Cain's the white version or the Mexican version of Stipe. They're very similar. Both just got these fucking melons for heads. They can both box their ass off. Great cardio. And they can wrestle too. Cain, I would give the edge to Cain on wrestling in the octagon, but good luck taking down Stipe and good luck holding him down. That dude is impossible to hold down. It's such a fun fight. It's the best matchup. But I'll watch some Stipe JDS one more time. Don't give me fucking JDS Cain for a fourth. Who fights 4 times?
I don't think anyone wants to see that fight.
That's like 2003. Arlovsky and Tim Sylvia fought every other weekend and shit because they had no one else to fight. Don't do that. All right, what else you got?
All right, the next one is Michael Venom Page. Flow Combat reported that he will likely fight Paul Daley in 2017.
I blasted this shit out. I was so crunk for this fight. Michael Venom Page versus Paul Daley in London. They're both British boys. Mm-hmm. I love the matchup. I don't see Michael Venom Page winning this one. And I think what's hilarious, remember when Michael Venom Page made that video talking shit to Ronda Rousey when she got knocked out? Mm. Karma's a bitch, man. Karma's a motherfucker. Now you get matched up with Paul Daley. Because I think Michael Venom Page, he's unconventional. He does that snake thing and it's fun to watch. But I think when you get a pro's pro, a guy like Paul Daley, who's a technical knockout artist and who has a left hand from Venus, his left hook, I think, is going to be issues for Michael Venom Page. It's such a great fight. As far as Bellator goes, I mean, unless Chandler's fighting, Chandler Ben Henderson was a great matchup. They've had some good matchups, but this is my favorite in a long time. When I saw this, I screenshot it. I text Scott Coker and was like, yes, yes, sir. And he put, we're trying. You're damn right. You're more than trying. Yeah. This is a fight. Such a fun fight.
I'd loved, ever since the first clip I saw of Venom Page on, I think it was Access TV, way back, I thought, I've never seen anyone fight like that besides, like, he's like a flashier version of John Jones. Way back then.
I love to watch him. He's fun to watch. He's the new purple elephant amongst the gray elephants right now, as far as MMA goes. He's fun to watch. But if he was in the UFC, his ass would get eaten up like a fucking...
Like something that gets eaten up.
Like an enchilada at a fucking fiesta. He would get eaten alive in the UFC at that division. He's just not ready for like the wrestlers and the grinders. Or I think a real technical guy like a Paul Daley. Mm. I think he'll get off, and Paul Daley's going to have some issues early on with him. He's going to land some good shots, but I don't think he knocks him out. I think Paul Daley calm the storm, weather kind of that weird unorthodox striking, and land that fucking left hook from Wales or where the fuck he's from.
Apparently, Paul Daley hasn't signed the fight, so Michael Venom Page has been going on his social media, and he's been creating all these different memes. So if you go to his Twitter page, you can see a bunch of them. He's showing Paul Daley hiding behind a chair.
God, I mean, does he realize what Paul Daley's about?
And yeah, I mean, according to him, he didn't sign the contract, so.
Well, but Paul Daley responded. Did you go to Paul Daley's?
No.
Yeah, go to Paul Daley's Twitter. I think he said, "I signed it, you cunt," or something like that. Yeah. I highly doubt Paul Daley's scared of...
I just figured he wouldn't even do anything, not even respond at all. That's not the right Paul Daley.
The fans can see this, right?
Yeah.
Why the fuck? That's not him.
The first one even says Semtex, which is his name. Let's try this one.
You want me to look it up?
Yeah, if you can find it, then I'll post it up.
Hold, please.
Don't worry, we're still here. Or maybe it was on his Instagram or something.
Damn, I don't see it here at all either.
Or maybe he just deleted his Twitter now.
Maybe he just doesn't.
Yeah, but either way, yeah,
it's happening.
And you text Scott Coker, thank God.
Yes, hell yeah, I did.
To make sure the fans.
It's a great fight, man.
Yeah.
I do have Paul Daley in that fight, though. Michael Van Page hasn't shown me anything that would show me otherwise. I got to be honest.
I have no idea who would win that fight, but damn, I do look forward to it.
Be interesting to see what the odds are. What else you got?
All right, so the next one is, you know how UFC was purchased by WME, and for the longest time, the fighters said, we haven't even spoken to the owners yet. They haven't even had contact with them.
They haven't come out and said anything in the media or anything.
Yeah. So finally, I was reading this article on Forbes. Apparently, they're going to be having a meet and greet, and they're inviting the new owners are going to have a meet and greet, and they're inviting all the fighters to come by. And then this is sort of taking place of what that old school fighter summit,
the fighters retreat, or the fighters, I forget what they call it, and they would fly all of us to Vegas, called the Athlete Summit. And they would fly everyone there, even, I mean, guys who know what the fuck they're doing. And you would basically, you'd be there for 2 days, and they'd teach you, like, the proper ways of weight cutting and what not to eat and things that you shouldn't put in your body. And the whole social media thing with Shonda, and remember, because at the time, especially, like 5-6 years ago, UFC and social media wasn't as big as it is now. Yeah. So they'd help you out with that. One year they had Michael Irvin come talk to the guys. They always had a guest speaker. This year it's probably going to be fucking George Clooney or some shit.
Yeah, they're saying a bunch of
rally during a
stars.
fight or something. I think there's a number of reasons why they haven't come out and dressed in the media. And I think it was a smart buy. I really do. I think the UFC is going to grow internationally, if they make the right moves. But I don't think they're educated enough to speak on the matter. I think if you put them in front of, the MMA journalists like Yuri Hawani, Luke Thomas, the list goes on and on, man. Naming the legit journalists in the business, they would eat him alive with questions that he's not ready for. So the best thing to do is just don't face it right now. They're not ready right yet. There's nothing wrong with that.
When you were invited to the other ones, did you see like MMA media come out? Were they invited at all?
No, there's no MMA media. And we would stay at Red Rocks. You just see everyone. It was kind of, you get gear. They give you like these bags and stuff. I'm sure they get a shitload of Reebok gear and what not to do in the future, what their plans are. And it's good. It's at least a step in the right direction for the new owners. And at least they can put, a face to the name and the owners and stuff like that. But they got a long ways to go, man.
When you were also at that fighters thing, did they ever talk about, because they're in this article, they're saying some of the things they'll talk about is like compensation. Did anyone ever have I don't know if the balls, but did anyone ever confront them at the summits going like, why aren't we paid more than?
No, never.
So no one would actually
Dana was
do
there
that,
maybe 5 minutes. Him and Lorenzo were there a few minutes. One of the summits is when Dana crashed his Ferrari. He crashed his new Ferrari, and then he came there. I was like, God damn. Man. He was I'd be flustered too. Yeah. He was on his way and like totaled his Ferrari, something like that. But it says, for those not in tune with all 2016 the biggest issues like brought up include better compensation. That's not going to, in my experience, that stuff doesn't get brought up.
Exactly.
No one's going head to head with an actual fighter and going to go over what their pays, why they're paying this. There's none of that. Can you see when freaking, think about it if a guy at Apple, when he was first starting out with Steve Jobs and was like, hey man, I think you should do this. It doesn't happen. What? Fucking go. What? Yeah. We're not going to entertain this conversation. We're running a business here. That's not going to happen. Healthcare. What they will bring up is they're not going to bring up guaranteed pay. Healthcare, yeah. The continued weight cutting, yeah. Drug testing, for sure. Share and license sponsorship deals, no. Retirement plan, no. Unless they're doing some new shit.
Yeah, no one knows what to really expect during this. This is just sort of out there. The
UFC departs from its rank system in favor of money fights. None of that's going to be brought up. The conflict of interest, WB agents represent UFC. Who wrote this? Forbes?
Forbes.
No. The fuck? The fuck? What else? You can tell us about Dana White's mistresses, too? What the fuck? Of course they're not going to talk about all this. Next article. Those things are all complete. Literally, you could put in an email. I think they should make, just like the NFL does, they should do a rookie symposium, like a rookie camp. So all new UFC fighters who are brand new to the roster have to fly out. But the vets should not. It's a waste of your time. I think it should be open to them. Fuck you, Forbes. I think Forbes. It should be open to them, but it's not something that vets should have to leave the comfort of their homes to be. You could put it in a one-page email and be like, "Oh, cool, got it."
That makes sense
for rookies. For rookies, it makes sense to let them know like what to expect, what's going on. But for the veterans, it's a complete waste of time, and most of them feel that way. And it was such a bitch to try and get out of it. They didn't let anyone get out of it because it puts. It allows them to check off. We told them, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
For them, it's almost damage control. If something were to happen, they go, well, he was at the meeting where we told him he can't do that.
Yeah.
So that's why no one gets out of it.
Does anyone get not in trouble, but do they look down on fighters for not showing up?
You have to show up. So, it's not an option. It's mandatory.
Crap. I didn't know it was mandatory.
No, it's mandatory. I remember Shane tried getting out of it because he might have been I think he was having a kid. His wife was pregnant. Still had to go. Wasn't even an option. They're like, huh? We don't give a fuck. You better get there. It's something super important. Maybe it had to do with his job. I want to say with his kid. something like that. And they're like, you going.
And he had a full-time job outside of that too, right?
No one gives a fuck.
All right.
What else you got?
The next article is the new broadcast team for 208. It's going to be 3 people, and it's going to without Mike Goldberg, obviously.
A lot of people.
Joe Rogan, John Anik, and Daniel Cormier. I don't know if this is the first time. I kind of feel like they've done it before.
Not with Rogan. It's always never with Rogan. It's always been Mike Goldberg and Rogan. Never.
So it's going to be a new.
I think they had Dominic Cruz like chime in with Rogan and Goldie before, but that's it. But why not do Goldie, Anik, and Rogan?
I don't know.
Isn't that a fun combination? Like, that's such a fun combination. If you're going to toss in a third, because what is DC's role in all of this? Because you have your color commentator, you have play-by-play, and you just have the fighter that...
This fighter's view? I don't know.
It's gonna be interesting to see the way they break it down. Because what I think makes Joe so special is he describes it to the fans because he's not a fighter. Mm-hmm. Because if you're a fighter, you can get too intricate and too balls deep into the details of what's going on, where it's not going to translate to the general population.
Some of it.
To the fighters, we know what's going on. So Rogan's gift is he trains like a fighter. He's seen so many fights. He's knowledgeable like a fighter, but he can put into layman terms. So my mom, your brother, my brother can go, oh, that's cool. That makes sense. Mm-hmm. He's not talking about butterfly guard, half guard sweeps into balls deep detail. And then we don't need that. So, and I think DC is really good. You know, he's not the biggest personality. He's not the most liked guy in the UFC. So it's gonna be interesting how they do it. And I think Anik is he's a good addition. I think Goldie and Rogan had this symbiotic relationship, you know, this volleying back and forth, chemistry. Same thing Brian and I have. Same thing you see a lot of other people when there's a duo. There's a chemistry back and forth. When you fuck with that chemistry, like I love Diet Coke. You put some lime in there, it fucks the chemistry up for me, man. Doesn't work for me. Works for some other people. Doesn't work for me. I love a cheeseburger. And I love fucking French toast. You put those together, it fucks it up. Just because we like both of them doesn't mean they're going to work well together. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So with this, Anik's not a big personality. DC, he's not the, you know, he's good. He's brilliant on UFC Tonight. He's great at breaking down fights, stuff like that. Being a commentator is a little different. But then you got this monster in the corner, Rogan, who's very, very outspoken, very colorful, very knowledgeable. So that, you know, it's like, who's going to get the airtime?
Would they ever prep something like this? Do you know what I mean? So would they ever have them sit in a room and kind of like just do a mock thing? Maybe
on Friday after the weigh-ins.
Oh, so they would.
Rogan ain't flying out there on Wednesday to prep for this.
Yeah, I wouldn't imagine.
He's like, right, this is your thing. I don't want to do this. Like, it's up to you.
But they're all professionals, so they should be able to get up, you know,
find
each lane.
In my experience, and not comment. Well, you know, when I commentated for CBS for boxing, you had an earpiece in, and someone go, Shab, your turn. Shab, you're next. Shab, you're up now.
Damn.
So they tell you and you're up, and you're up. I don't know if that scripted is good for live fights though. For a show, that's how they're structured. Mm-hmm. For in my experience in boxing, you know, but remember, I was in a main focal. I was just like, okay, you're gonna have your 1 minute here. Go now. Mm. And there's 3 commentators. It's gonna be interesting. If you're gonna have 3 guys, why would you let Goldie go? Anik, Goldie, and Rogan's fun as fuck.
I don't know.
I gotta stop cussing. I don't want to cussing so much today. I blame it on the sickness. What else you got, man?
All right, the next one is, this is kind of a 2-parter. So last week, Marlon Moraes, who's a champion of World Series of Fighting.
He looks like a straight-up Pizza Hut delivery guy right there.
He looks like a fancy pizza delivery
Not really. Mine show up in that busted-ass polo that he has on there. Sorry, Marlos, but Jesus Christ. How old is he?
I don't know.
47? How old is that guy?
No. He's in his early 20s. He's got to be.
All right. You don't have to look it up.
Yeah.
What were you saying, though?
So he is their bantamweight champ, and he relinquished his title very recently. And as of yesterday, it was official that their other 2-division champ, David Branch, he relinquished his middleweight and light heavyweight titles.
Just all getting out.
All came out.
And then also rumors. Gaethje. From what I hear from my sources, Gaethje's out too. So you got Branch, middleweight, light heavyweight champion, out. You got Marlon Moraes, out. And then you got Gaethje out. So I would assume they're either just revamping things and probably going to launch a new network with new fighters and stuff like that, or they're just going to fold. I mean, your champs just dip on out. They're leaving for a reason. They're unhappy for a reason. Now, these guys have to decide to go to Bellator or UFC. I don't think any of these guys fare very well in the UFC. I just don't. I mean, I think Marlon, he's a top 10 guy, top 5 guy. No, not at 35. Gaethje, fun fighter, fan favorite in the UFC, not world champion, not even close. You look at his last fight, the punishment he took.
He takes a bunch.
He takes a beating. Man. You get to the UFC, and again, man, you get to the UFC, you're talking about a different animal. Branch, top 10 guy, top 5 in the UFC, no. And at 85, forget about you're not even in conversation. 205 ain't for you in the UFC. Like, you can do 205, 85 at World Series because you're not fighting anyone. Let's be real. Let's call spade here. You're not fighting anybody. 85 in the UFC, let me know how that goes for you, David. And I'm a David Branch fan. Renzo Gracie guy, I've rolled with him. He's a fucking monster. But, Branch would have some work. His work's going to be cut out for him in the UFC because he's won a ton. But so he went to unanimous decision against Vinny. Vinny was a terrible UFC fighter. Terrible. He beat Okami, though. Okami was a fucking monster in the UFC. So you got that. Anthony Johnson, he went to a unanimous decision with. Lost to Paul Harris. The top UFC guys he's lost to. He beat Vinny Magnus. I think he's a top 15 guy for sure. Top 5, no. And at 85, there's some fun matchups for him there. But this is the thing about the UFC. And remember, he fought in the UFC.
He did, yeah.
Branch fought in the UFC. Where'd he go? He went 2-2. Or he went 2-2. And then fucking Paul Harris ripped his knee off and they cut him. That's the way it goes. What makes the UFC special, it's different than Bellator and all the other leagues, is at the UFC level, it's so deep and there's so much talent and everyone wants to be there and it's the toughest promotion in the world. There are no easy fights. So David Branch fought Vinny, and then his next fight, he fought this Lewis Taylor. Lewis Taylor ain't even sniffing the UFC. Think about the guys at 85. I mean, it's monster after monster after monster, and you can't have an off night or you're going to get embarrassed. That's what makes the UFC the UFC. It's that you're the best in the world for a reason. But I wish him the best. I hope he goes there and becomes champ, but it's going to be tough. Really, really tough. And then, like I said, Gaethje at 55, he's too Leonard Garcia-ish, which you can't get away with these days. At 55, man, it's just not going to happen.
Yeah. And
you see less and less guys playing that Rock'em Sock'em Robots game. And the guy that and some people thought he lost the fight, Gaethje got fucked up in that fight. Gotta quit cussing. You look at that fight, I mean, if you're facing a top 10 guy in the UFC, you ain't making it out there alive, man.
Yeah.
That was so dramatic. I didn't mean alive, but you know what I'm saying.
I know what you mean.
I mean, look, he's undefeated. He had doctor stoppage in the 3rd round, but look, who's he fighting? He went to split decision with Melvin Gillard. Melvin's not a world beater. But again, you're only as good as the competition that you're in. So he had no control over who they bring into the World Series. He started there, became world champ. They paid him very handsomely. They paid him more than the UFC ever would at his level. So it makes sense, man. So hopefully he goes on to let's see, he's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7-time world champion. Pretty cool to say to your kids, man.
Yeah.
No matter what league it's in, he's a hell of a fighter. Hell of a fighter. I love watching him. But in the UFC, you can't play that game. You just can't. That's why it's the best promotion in the world.
Who was that guy that I was high on and you were saying something like he was good but not Jason Knight, but I forgot who he fought for some reason. That
you're talking about the Hick Diaz?
Yeah.
You're talking about Hick Diaz? That's what they call him, Hick Diaz.
Diaz.
I didn't make that up. I got that from someone else. Hick Diaz.
That's who reminds me of for some reason. Gaethje and that guy. Like they just come forward and just get hit and hit and hit.
And they're going to be fan favorites. They're never going to have the strap around their waist. You can't. Okay, once you get to the top 10, then you get to top 8, top 5, those guys, they don't play that game. They're going to beat you by any means possible. So if you're bad on the ground, you go to the ground. If you see a weakness with your jab, they take advantage of it. There's no margin for error. I get pissed so bad because of those IVs.
What?
I have to pee so bad because of those IVs. I've been holding in, breaking down these goddamn World Series of fight records. I got to pee.
All right.
Sorry, man.
It's funny.
I didn't know how much longer I could go. Think about 2 giant bags of IVs.
I know.
Chin can't get over Hick Diaz.
I love Hick Diaz.
Isn't that a great nickname? They're going to need to make some teas. Let's say the Hick. He should just go by the Hick and embrace just that kind of like white trash culture. Be sick, man. There's a market for that.
Thick accent. Yeah. Dude,
huge market for that.
I loved it when I heard
It's called NASCAR. It's called NASCAR. They kill it. Be that guy. Be the fighter for NASCAR. Fan base. Don't drive NASCAR. All right, what else you got?
All right, let's go to a Nate Diaz story. Amir Khan posted on his Twitter that Nate came over to train boxing with him in San Francisco.
Well, Nate's always over there because of his brother would train with Andre Ward, greatest fighter in the world.
Ooh.
Yeah, his brother would spar with Andre Ward. From what I heard, and you guys let me know, you guys listening are super educated on a lot of this stuff. Some of you are. Some of you are batshit crazy. But Andre Ward, Nick Diaz was so tough, and obviously Andre Ward's the best boxer in the world right now, and he's a light heavyweight. He's a big boy. But Nick Diaz was so tough, it was unhealthy for him to spar with Andre Ward. That's how big of a, like, as far as straight boxing, it was unhealthy for Nick, because Nick wouldn't let up. He just keep coming forward and eating shots.
Oh, I see what you're saying now.
Yeah.
Unhealthy.
Mm-hmm. So I'm assuming Nate Diaz came there. It's San Francisco club. It might be the same gym. Yeah, because they have the same trainer. Andre Ward and Amir Khan have the same trainer. So that's where that connection comes from. Nate Diaz is applying for his boxing.
Yeah, that's like this is sort of feeding the rumors of him boxing.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I think it's good. You know,
didn't you love, or was it you that loved Amir Khan, his skills, but he just couldn't?
Yeah, I love Amir Khan. I always root for him. You know, he's a talented dude and so fast. His hand speed's insane. His chin, a lot of people question. I hate when people bring up chins, but
they bring it up to me every day.
That's a good one, sir. I mean, I don't know what they were doing. They're not going to fight. He's so much bigger than him. You see Conor open kind of this door, man. It's cool to see. Other guys are going to start following suit. And Nate and Nick love to box. I'd watch them box. Be curious to see. The problem is Nate and Nick, if they did a box match, would actually straight up box. That's the issue. I don't think Conor's going to do that.
What would Conor do?
It's going to look like a Michael Venom Page fight. You know, when you watch Michael Venom Page, like, what the fuck is he doing? This looks weird.
Yeah.
That's what Conor would do in a boxing ring. Nate and Nick, their boxing's their foundation. They box. They're high-level boxers, but if you're going to box a guy like Canelo or Amir or Floyd, you're in for a long fucking day in the office. Sorry.
Are you feeling any better right now?
Yeah, I feel fine. I'll be 100% by Thursday night at the live show of San Francisco. You guys won't even notice. Hopefully.
All right. Since
else
we're
you got?
on boxing, Dana White said that one of the reasons he didn't want to put together a fight with Manny Pacquiao and Conor McGregor is because he doesn't want to deal with Bob Arum. So Bob Arum started talking about, I think this was on TMZ, saying like, if he doesn't want me a part of it, I don't have to be a part of it. But he still wants him to make the fight. So he's willing to step aside.
Now, would Dana do that for McGregor? If McGregor said, hey, I want to make this fight, but Dana has to step aside?
No, right?
That's basically what Floyd said, right?
Yeah.
He goes, I don't know why the fuck we're using Dana White, but Conor wants to be part of it. Dana's ego's too big to step aside. Maybe you guys call me a hater. Maybe you tell me, Chin. I mean, I don't really want to see Pacquiao versus Conor.
I don't.
I want to see Floyd Conor.
Which is weird, right?
Well, because Floyd beat Pacquiao, even though Pacquiao had one arm, he still beat him. I need to see, Jesus Christ, I need to see the number one guy versus the number one guy in our sport. I don't want to see an older guy who's part of the government in the Philippines, who's on and off,
But the crazy thing about this is this would probably be a way more exciting fight, right? In reality,
to be honest with you, way worse matchup for
McGregor, right?
He's not going to be able to do his antics and like weird movement. Manny Pacquiao's going to come forward. He's faster than Floyd and Conor. This would be I don't like this idea. I like Floyd because he's a counterpuncher, pillow hands. And he's not a big guy. Neither is Manny Pacquiao, but Manny hits harder, he moves fast as fuck, and he's a pressure fighter. If I'm Conor, I'm like, I'll say, yeah, I'll take it, but I'm like, hey, Floyd, let's go here, man.
Yeah. But I'm already sold on the Floyd one, and even though
I can't entertain, my brain can't handle anyone else. My brain goes, what?
Yeah.
Fuck, no. I can't, I mean, if Floyd won't happen, I'll take it, but I'd be pissed. It wouldn't be anywhere near as big. You can't have this. You cannot have this. It shows you how big of a deal Conor is. You got Manny Pacquiao, Floyd Mayweather, Evander Holyfield, Anderson Silva. Everyone wants to fight Conor. That's how big of a draw he is, man. Yeah. They have to make that Floyd fight happen. They just have to.
Yeah, now all of us want to see it. It's going to suck if it doesn't happen now.
Oh, okay. Give us fucking Tony Ferguson, Khabib versus Conor. That's such a letdown.
Yeah, people still want to see that.
Of course, that may be purists, dude, but it'd be we're expecting some epic
once in a lifetime.
Yeah. Yes, once in a lifetime pay-per-view, MMA, boxing, the worlds finally collide. Anything less, and we don't want it. I don't want anything else. Yeah. I'll watch that shit show. Charge me $100 pay-per-view. I don't give a...
Dude, everyone's going.
Everyone's
going to watch it.
We're going Sizzler. What else,
I think that's it for... We did a bunch of different current events.
That's it for the fun. Should we just break this bad boy UFC 208 down, which I'm back on the 208 train. I was off. I was hating on it. I guess I hate on it just because I expect more from them with the new owners. And we've seen some crazy fights with UFC 200 before the sale. And, we got some cool stuff. Then you look at this. It's a fun card. I think if you don't buy it, you're going to miss out on some things. But, you can illegally download it and still see it. If you want to save your money, I'm not advocating that. I don't know what website you'd even do that on. I'm not that savvy of a computer dude. I have friends who are though. Let's start with Dustin Poirier, Jim Miller. So UFC 208 Brooklyn. It's their second fight in New York. Their third one would be Buffalo, right? With DC Rumble Johnson. That's a fun one for Buffalo. So this is
Poirier.
So Poirier's coming off that big loss against Michael Johnson where they talked so much shit. He got starched in minute 35. I've always been high on Poirier. I think the kid has it, but if you look at his fights where there's a lot of pressure on, it doesn't end well for him. Remember, though, and it is a while ago, but this is one here to note. He did beat Max Holloway. He submitted Max Holloway. And now Max has gotten way better, But I'm just saying he's still a win over Max Holloway is fucking huge. That's what kind of potential this kid has. So he, it was a mounted triangle. Is that right? Yeah, there you go. Triangle. All right, there you go. Yeah. So he mounted triangle, Max Holloway. But you look at, besides that fight, at the time that wasn't the Max Holloway that we're talking about now, but still, it's a Max Holloway win, so take it for what it is. But you look at the big moments in his career, and there's a trend here, because you look at the mega fights, he loses them. When there's a lot of pressure, he loses them. Now, you can say it doesn't do well under pressure, which I don't think that's the case, or you can say it's the level of talent he's fighting. Cub Swanson, that's a tough one to take on. He lost in unanimous decision. Okay, I'll take that. Then he rips off 3 wins. Not against 3 world beaters, but 3 wins. Then he gets Conor McGregor. Remember the magnitude of that fight. He gets starched. It's Conor McGregor. Whatever. Then he wins 4 in a row. He's on a fucking tear. He beat Bobby Green. That was a fun one. And at the time, there was a lot of hype there, so that was a big one. But then he fights Michael Johnson, and that was that fight night on Fox, and there's all this pressure. They hated each other talking shit. And then Johnson knocks him out and is a poor sport about it. It looked pretty shitty. But that, so Poirier has all the talent in the world. He just needs to put together the big win. I don't know I think he beats Jim Miller. And I love Jim Miller. He's a vet. He's been doing it forever. I actually think he beats Jim Miller. God, Jim Miller's been doing it for fucking ever, man. He's an on and off guy. He has world-class submissions. He's a guy who I'll always pay to watch. He's that one guy you see on the card, you're like, oh, hell yeah, he brings it. And that's Jim Miller. And I think that says a lot about the guy. I don't think he has a lot left in the tank. I think Poirier has youth on his side. Miller's, he's won 3 in a row. He beat Gomi at UFC 200. Lozon in a split decision. That's up for hearsay. That's a tough one. And then Thiago Alves, which, Thiago's, to say on the back 9 wouldn't even be nice to say.
Gomi, too.
Oh,
Gomi's been gone.
Gomi, Lozon, and Alves are all older gentlemen as far as the fight game goes. So he has 3 in a row against big names. He only really fights big names. It's Jim Miller, man. That's what he deserves. But I don't think he wins this fight. I'll take Poirier TKO. I think Poirier has the speed, the youth on his side, and I like the fight though. It's a good matchup.
Good pick. I like it. So you want to go to
let's go to Glover Teixeira. Click on this Jared Connor.
Mm-hmm. I've never heard of him, but he's been there for 3 fights.
Oh, fuck. I thought this was his first UFC fight.
That's what I thought, too.
Ain't that a bitch? Do they have a... Can I see what he looks... So he's from Alaska, is that right?
Yeah.
So he's born in Dallas, Texas, but he fights out of Alaska.
Let me throw up his picture.
Fighting out of Anchorage, Alaska. And I bet they are stacked with talent as far as training partners out there, heavyweights. Okay.
He looks like Czech Congo.
Okay. A black guy from Alaska. Never assume anything, ladies and gentlemen. Never assume shit. He's a black guy fighting Alaska. I don't know. I've never been to Alaska. So he's originally born in Dallas, Texas, fights out of Alaska. He usually fights at 205. And he has fought at heavyweight. What's this man's background?
Employee for FAA as an airway transportation systems specialist.
Mm-hmm.
Full time.
And his wins in the UFC, let me see his record. Decision, KO punch, elbow, Cheryl, and then he lost to Sean Jordan. KO punches. Sean Jordan, when is that, 2015?
Yeah.
Powerful Sean Jordan. He used to be a monster. Then beat Tony Lopez. I don't know what the odds are, but I would assume if Glover Teixeira shows up in any form of his old self, he's going to starch this kid. Yeah, Glover in a major way. Glover's that guy where they painted him to be the next, basically, Anderson Silva. They thought he was the, Chuck Liddell and Dana White co-signed on him, and then he had a bit of a rough go. they built him up right. They brought him to the UFC because he had this visa issue forever in Brazil, and he was this monster looming in the shadows. And then he finally gets to the UFC, and they give him Kyle Kingsbury, who, he murks in the first round, and I love Kyle, that Kyle. And then Fabio Maldonado, which that was just a weird fight to watch. Fabio really had no business being there. And then they give him Rampage, which is his first big test. He gets a decision. And then finally we start to see some finishes with James Tahuna, guillotine choke, which most people don't, our listeners, there's some very educated listeners for as far as fighting goes, but Glover's a monster wrestling and jiu-jitsu wise. Abu Dhabi competitor, high level black belt jiu-jitsu, monster when it comes to grappling. So then you see his submission guillotine against James Tahuna when we know him as a knockout artist. And then remember, he goes to decision against John Jones. So he lasted 5 rounds with John Jones. John Jones busts his elbow with that standing, almost kind of popped his elbow out. If you remember, he has the underhook and popped his elbow out. That messed him up. And then the Phil Davis decision in Brazil was a big one. That's where his career was like, God damn it, 2 in a row, and Phil Davis beat him. Look up Phil Davis's, not right now, but when you guys listen to this, Phil Davis is so under the radar. If you look at his wins, it's fucking insane. And he will also be on the Big Brown Breakdown next week, breaking down Bellator's big fight card with Fedor and Mitrione. Shout out to powerful, Mr. Wonderful Phil Davis coming on the show next week. So he lost a decision of Phil Davis in Brazil. That was a barn burner for him. That sucks. And then OSP, rear naked choke. Then he beat Pat Cummins, TKO'd him. Then that Rashad Evans fight, which I fucking hated watching. That was just a terrible fight for Rashad. And then, then he fights Anthony Johnson, and that was to get a title shot. That was the title eliminator, if you remember. And DC versus Glover is such a fun fight. But the way he approached Anthony Johnson, and I know you got to do what got you the dance, but remember, he just kind of Mike Tyson'd his way in. And Anthony Johnson was like, is this dude serious? And just gave him an uppercut from fucking Palm Beach, Florida, and knocked him out. So that was his last fight. And he was in 13 seconds at UFC 202. So he's a little time off. If you're a Glover, Tex, you're a fan, you like this fight because it's a warm-up fight. He's coming off a huge knockout. It's not a huge risk fight for him. It's a bit of a gimme fight. Let's be real. What are the odds here? I would imagine Glover's one of the biggest favorites on the card.
He's actually minus 145. Let me pull it up on this one.
Jesus, that's not bad at all.
Yeah. How about that? 208 fight. Yeah, I think it was minus 145. Let's check it out right here.
God, I mean, that's not that much of a favor.
Oh, minus 165 against Jared, who's plus 145.
It's not that crazy. I thought it'd be a minus 300, to be honest.
Yeah, because I've never heard of that guy, and you didn't either, or most people haven't, I guess.
I've heard of him. I'm not too. I should say I'm not familiar with him.
Okay,
but I'll take Glover by knockout. There you
Sounds
go.
Good.
Move on. Jacare versus Tim Boach. Jacare is trying to keep active. He's looking for fights. He's coming off the TKO over Vitor Belfort. They had the split decision against Romero. Then they thought he was going to get a title shot. So they're just tossing this like here. But as we know, and if you've been around the sport long enough, when you just go here and this just here gimme fight is Tim Boach, who is a tough customer as they freaking come. It's not that much of a cakewalk for him. It's a dangerous fight, especially if you're hoping for, a title shot. But he's obviously pretty confident in himself and thinks he's going to get it done. But Tim Boach is not a gimme fight, man. He's a guy who's tough to put away unless you knock him out or get his back. But it's not a gimme fight. It's just not. He's a huge underdog. And if you bet on anyone as an underdog, and I don't think Tim Boach is going to win, but it's not a terrible bet if you're trying to make money in this fight game. What is he? Is he a fucking...
he's a minus 500.
And Tim Boach plus 400. He's a huge underdog for a reason. So all they're doing is toss up to him. So if you look at this card, go back to the breakdown of the card, So if you look at the card, right? Poirier, Jim Miller. Poirier is a huge favorite. So there's a good chance that fight ends in a finish. Glover versus Jared. Glover, huge favorite. Good chance that ends in a knockout of Glover. Jacare versus Tim Boetsch. Jacare, huge favorite. So this is a card. These first three are full of favorites versus underdogs. So you can create some momentum going into the co-main event. There's a method to their madness.
Indeed.
And now there might be an upset here and there. Maybe Tim Boetsch. Jim Miller's always tough. But in general, they're playing on these to be quick highlight reel finishes. So they can tweet it out. Whoa, Dustin Poirier, did you see that? Tune into UFC 208 right now before Holly Holm takes on Jermaine Durandamy. Like, that's the way it goes down. So then you got Jacare, Tim Boetsch. Good chance Jacare clips him, then gets a hold of his neck and squeezes because he's the best jiu-jitsu practitioner ever in the UFC history. So I'll say, Dustin Poirier, TKO, Glover Teixeira, KO, Jacare Souza, submission, probably second round. But he's going to clip him first with some heavy punches, clip him, then get his back. And then moving on to the co-main event, you got a 41-year-old Anderson Silva versus Derek Brunson. Anderson's the underdog, I would assume.
Let's check it. He must be, right? He is underdog by
plus 125. Listen, he'd be my underdog pick of the if you're in bet on this card. And I don't bet on fights, and I'm usually super biased. So if you're listening to this, be careful. But remember, Anderson Silva is a guy who a year ago, almost exactly a year ago, he lost a unanimous decision to the world middleweight champion, Michael Bisping. And if my memory serves me right, before CT kicks in any second now, he knocked him out.
He did.
In the third round. And Bisping came back, and then Bisping's story, which is one of the best stories ever in UFC history, and shout out to Michael Bisping. He goes on to become world champion after that, knocks out Luke Rockhold. But Bisping didn't win that fight, really, in that third. He got knocked out. But then, you can't say, well, he stopped because he came back when it was 2 rounds. So either way, amazing fight. Amazing fight. So a year removed, he beat the best middleweight on the planet. And then, he takes a short notice fight at light heavyweight against Daniel Cormier, who's the light heavyweight champ right now, and the belt wasn't on the line. It goes 3 rounds. He hurts DC with a body kick. But remember, DC was world champion at heavyweight in Strikeforce, heavyweight Strikeforce champion, Grand Prix champion, and he beat just the monsters. Undefeated in the UFC at heavyweight, and then now he's the light heavyweight champion of the world with his only loss coming to John Jones. And he goes all 3 rounds with him, and DC played the fight safe, which is why DC gets booed most places he goes these days, because he played it too safe and people hate that shit. So, I don't see why Anderson's a underdog on this. I really don't. I think if you look at the matchup, Brunson is a guy who charges forward with his chin in the air.
At least that last fight for sure.
Every fight. That's what he does. That's his MO. You're not changing that. That's what he does. And I can understand if Brunson was this young guy, you know what I'm saying? If he was this really young guy who he's going to make changes and he wasn't a vet, he had 20 fights. He'd been in the UFC since fucking 2012. Before that, he was with Strikeforce. He's a vet. He's really not going to change his ways. I think the only thing we see change out of him is he's going to start wrestling Anderson Silva a little more early, but he does always charge forward. Now, coming off that Robert Whittaker win, which was so fun to watch, especially if you don't know either of the guys. It was amazing to watch. But, he led with his chin. It was back and forth. Whittaker was smart, weathered the storm, then ended up knocking him out. But if you do, and then his Uriah Hall fight, he just bull rushed Uriah Hall. Uriah Hall didn't know what the fuck was going on until he woke up with Herb Dean over him. Same with Sam Alvey, same with Ed Herman. And then he had the unanimous decision over Lorenz Larkin, which was a fun fight. And then he took down Yoel Romero a bunch of times. So I like this fight for Anderson Silva, man. I don't think Brunson has the capabilities. Now, this is if Father Time didn't come up to Anderson and go, hey, bitch, your time's up like last month. That Michael Bisping fight, I'll give you that. All right? I gave you that one fucking opportunity. The DC one, DC did nothing, and you lost the decision. All right. Can you go away now? And he keeps coming back, so I don't know.
But he came also, he was not prepared at all. It was like 2 weeks notice to fight DC.
With the decision. Still hurt DC. And DC really didn't do anything when he was on top of him. Anderson couldn't do anything from the bottom with his guard. Mm-hmm. I think Anderson, his guard is dangerous. I can see him submitting Brunson. I just think Brunson's in a world of danger in this entire fight. On the feet, Anderson's leap years better striking. He has from his kicks to his hands, he's better. But to me, is Anderson Silva taking this fight serious? What does beating Brunson do for Anderson Silva's legacy? Is Anderson Silva going to be champion of the world? If he thinks that, then I love this fight for Anderson Silva. If he's doing it just because he's bored as fuck back in Brazil, then I don't like it. But his fight with Bisping, his fight with DC show otherwise. Anderson Silva, it's fucking Anderson Silva, man. Most would argue best fighter of all time. But I just don't understand why fighting a Brunson, that does nothing for me.
If he showed up in really good condition, would you think that he took it seriously?
Yeah, if he shows up in good condition and he's ready to go, he probably gets a highlight reel knockout over Brunson.
Nice. I'm more interested.
He's my underdog pick, hands down, for this card. I think it's just a matter of time on the ground. He's going to be threatening submissions, and they're going to stand up. It's just a matter of time before he lands a knee, an elbow, a flying knee. When Brunson get him down early. Watch, but if he doesn't get knocked out early, Brunson's going to get Anderson Silva down early. Anderson Silva's going to get up. He might get him down again. But as the rounds go on, Anderson's going to time that because Brunson can get desperate because nothing's happening. Because it's scary fighting Anderson Silva on the feet. You know, he's doing this with his hands. Brunson's going to panic, keep shooting. Eventually, he's going to eat a knee, I bet, and get TKO'd. I'll take Anderson Silva third round TKO in vicious form.
It's starting to look that way now. I'm remembering with Chris Lieben and Rich Franklin, they would, rush at him, and then he would just pick his shots and boom, boom, boom.
Mm-hmm. Again, if he takes this fight serious, he should smoke Brunson.
Wow.
Those odds are crazy. Whoever made those odds. Now, if he has fucking dad bod and his love handles hang over the side, disregard everything I just told you guys. I got to see the weigh-ins. If he has tits hanging out the front, some Brazilian love handles out the back,
Brazilian love handles.
I can't do it. That's not my guy. If he looks like Yellow Bastard but in Brazilian form, that's not our guy. Disregard everything I just told you guys. Let's go to the main event.
All right.
Holly Holm, Jermaine Durandamy. Again, I was hating on this card a little bit ago, and now I look at it. The main card's fun. The undercard, I'm not going to bullshit you guys. It's not great. Hopefully Ian McCall finally gets to fucking fight, for God's sakes. But fuck that undercard. Let's go. In the main event, you got Holly Holm versus Jermaine Durandamy. Mm-hmm. I love the matchup. Granted, Holly Holm lost her last two fights, and Jermaine Durandamy's wins are not that impressive at all. Who'd you bring up right now? Jermaine Durandamy?
This is Jermaine, yeah.
Yeah, so, she's not, as far as MMA goes, she's not a world beater. She lost to Amanda Nunes in the first round. She has a split decision win over Julie Kenzie. She's doing her thing. She's trying, but the reason why this matchup is fun is because Jermaine goes forward. Her traditional Muay Thai background is ridiculous. She's a multiple-time world champion in traditional Muay Thai, Dutch kickboxing, so that's fun. Mm-hmm. World-class striker. Then you have Holly Holm, who's a world-class boxer, traditional American kickboxer. But Holly Holm is a counterpuncher. Jermaine Durandamy is a pressure fighter. The number one thing that Holly Holm does well is counter fighting. That's if you want Holly Holm to be world champion, you pair up with someone who goes forward, i.e. Ronda Rousey. How did that work out for her? You can't. Miesha Tate is someone who goes forward, but she's not a striker. It's a different type of pressure. If you want her to do well, you have to have her going for. She has to have an opponent who's going to strike, who's a good striker and goes forward. This is the perfect matchup for Holly to be world champion again. I love the fight for Holly. I don't know. What are the odds? Holly an underdog?
I didn't even check. So
I don't look at odds. Holly's an underdog, barely,
Minus
plus 105. I like that too. I would parlay Holly Holm and Anderson Silva. That's what I do. I wouldn't touch any of the other bets.
I had no idea she's an underdog. I didn't expect that.
Yep. But this is I could see, and this is the other thing. Jermaine Durandamy gets fucking starched by Cyborg. Holly Holm doesn't. It's all about matchups. But this belt at 145, depending on what happens with Cyborg and suspension, the only fight that belt's just gonna be on hold till Cyborg comes off suspension. Right. Who the fuck else are we gonna find? Maybe do an Ultimate Fighter or looking for a fight YouTube show for a 45 girl. I don't know. Either way, there's no future in the division. And then in this weird world of MMA, if Holly Holm loses, she's 0-3. What the fuck do we do with her? You keep fighting her because we don't have enough stars. And Holly Holm at 135 is still the girl who cracked the Ronda Rousey code, and that highlight will forever be ingrained in everyone's brain. And Fox and the UFC will always show it because she slayed the monster that was Ronda Rousey. Not Amanda Nunes. Amanda Nunes, people really aren't going to notice her for that. It's always the first person to decode it. You know what I'm saying? So Holly Holm will always be regarded as that. They're never going to let Holly go. Even if she were to lose this one, she's still one of the top 3 most famous girls at 135, especially with Ronda out and Misha out. Shit, she's number 1. She's more famous than Amanda Nunes.
Of course, yeah.
Easily. Not even close. So you're not going to do shit with her even if she loses this. But I don't think she loses. I think Holly Holm has the fight of her life, and I think she outclasses Jermaine Durandamy, and I think Durandamy is a pressure fighter. I think Holly Holm counter strikes and gets her to the cage and gets the underhook and wins rounds, but it goes to a decision. But I'll take Holly Holm. Be your champ at 145. And then what you do with that belt, I have no idea. I have no idea what their plan is. You got to wait to see what happens with Cyborg. But the fight is Cyborg Holly. That's the motherfucking fight. That is a fight. But that 45 division, build it and they will come. That's easier said than done. I know we like to say those cool catchphrases like build it and they will come. Not really. 145 is a big-ass girl. There's not a ton of big-ass girls wanting to get punched in the face in the world right now. Build it and will they come? I guess. We have a hard time finding fucking big dudes, let alone big women that want to get punched in the face. It's a tough sell, man.
It's time to bring back Gina.
You know what? You're fucking right. Gina Holly Holm at 45 just for the belt.
Oh, that'd be dope.
That's a great fight, Chin. That's a brilliant idea, son.
Yes.
That's exactly what they're going to do. I think Gina's represented by WME.
Is she?
Don't quote me on that. I don't think she's a CAA girl. I feel like I would know. I'm sure I'll find out. That's the fight. Cyborg, she's been suspended for a year or who knows how long, for fucking ever, for taking all those steroids. And then Holly Holm, I would buy Holly Holm versus Gina. I am a Gina fan.
I think a lot of people are.
Mm-hmm. She has nothing to lose. Fight for a world title. I know she's making movies. Who knows if she wants to do it, but I'd watch it.
That was one of her biggest weaknesses, too, was making that weight cut. When she was trying to... Was it 140 or 135? I think it was 135 that she was trying to cut to. Or maybe even 145 she was trying to cut to way back in the day, Strikeforce days.
It's a different game now. Nutritionists, sports evolved. We could get her there.
Yeah.
She'd be
Let's get her there.
Design piece at 45 these days. We need it. That's exactly what they should do, Chin. Good fucking call, sir.
Thanks, man.
I can't quit cussing. Is that it? So, yeah. So my fun parlay bet for this is Holly Holm and Anderson Silva. Gadoosh. Get that money, son. Do some fan questions?
Sounds good.
We had a bunch of them. I appreciate you guys with the fan questions. There's one jagillion fan questions. So keep it up. We love you guys. Last week's Big Brown Breakdown is the biggest show I've ever been involved in. Pretty cool.
Man, that was
pretty
amazing.
Nuts, man. It's an honor. You guys who listen to this, download this. Oh, and Another thing is, might as well talk about it. I'm always up front with you guys, but when we first launched the show, we did it on the Fire and the Kid feed because at the time we had no other choice. And now we have time. We're in our studio. We're going to have it on its own channel. So you're going to have to subscribe to the Big Brown Breakdown. You think we'll have it ready to go by next week, Chin? Is that possible?
We'll be working on it. So at the very least, we'll have news. Like
we'll have an update for you guys. And on my Twitter, Instagram, I'll post for you guys to subscribe. But we have to make our own channel just so, you got to, it's the way it works. Now's the time. So there's that update. We'll keep you guys posted. It's not a big deal. You just fucking find Big Brown Breakdown, subscribe. Yeah. All right, fan questions.
Fan questions. Brown Skin Jesus. With both legends fighting this weekend, Fedor and Silva, at 40 years old, who do you think will have a better showing?
Anderson Silva all day. Have you seen Fedor lately? His Maldonado fight in Russia, they're like, he didn't win that. Even Russia was like, we can't give him that. They recalled it. He looked like pure shit. I think he's going to be in more shape for his fight against Mitrione because in the States, for him to be considered one of the greatest heavyweights of all time, he can't come to the States, sign with Bellator, and get fucking murked by Mitrione. I think he knows that for his legacy, so he's going to be in better shape. I don't think I just think at heavyweight and fighting an athletic guy like Mitrione, he has his hands more full than Anderson Silva does. And we just saw a year ago, Anderson Silva looked amazing. His fight against DC, you can't really knock him for that. Short notice, 205, one of the greatest 205ers of all time, undefeated heavyweight, went to decision, looked pretty good. Anderson Silva all day.
Yes. And Jesus, I can't imagine Fedor taking out Mitrione after that freaking Maldonado fight.
I have no idea what to expect from Fedor.
Man. All right, next question. Tarek WM. If Anderson beats Brunson this weekend, could he fight Bisping versus Romero winner?
In this crazy MMA world, yeah. Because if let's say Anderson does a highlight reel knockout, it's the Vitor Belfort front kick to the face. He knocks Brunson out. Anderson Silva is one of the biggest names in the sport still. And that's all they care about pay-per-view numbers.
Yeah.
And you have a storyline there where, let's say Bisping beats Yoel, which is definitely possible. Let's say Bisping beats Yoel. Well, Anderson go, why beat you already, man? Mm-hmm. Look at the clip. And just keeps posting the highlights of him knocking him out. Him knocking him out. Him not fake champ, fake champ, fake champ. You got to fight. 100% I could see that happening.
Next question. Cole Guest, with Ronda likely retiring, who drives the women's MMA pay-per-view market? Will this be the last women's pay-per-view headliner for a while?
Yes, sir. Yeah. I'm surprised this one's even on there. And to answer your question, who's going to be the headliner? Holly Holm. Because she's the first girl to ever murk the giant, slay the dragon with Ronda. And now if she's, so she was the 135 champ. Now she can be the 145 champ. So you mark her as a 2 weight class champion. She looks good. She speaks good. She just beat Jermaine Durand to me. And then you build up the cyborg fight. Holly Holm is your answer. There's really no one else. Man, he can't have a mullet. He simply can't have a mullet and be marketable. We can't have that.
How is Joanna Champion doing, like numbers wise? Is she
not good?
Decent?
No,
Not
she
great?
gets maybe 50,000. They're all Polish. And she's an amazing fighter. She's just not a draw. And she's an amazing fighter and so talented. And I love watching her fight. Not a draw. Will never be a headline on a pay-per-view.
Damn.
Mighty Mouse isn't a headline.
That's always been a weird one. But
think how dominating. He's way more dominating, way more well-known than Joanna.
Fun to watch.
Not a draw.
Too.
Fun to watch.
Yeah.
He's bite-size.
It's so weird how that's a thing.
That's the way the world works.
I know, it's so weird that's the thing.
It's just in our DNA, men go, the guy's tiny. I don't give a fuck. But if you saw Floyd Mayweather, he's also tiny. But they do give a fuck. It's weird, isn't it?
It is weird. And you can't say, well, in that instance, people were saying that color was the thing too. I don't know if you heard this.
Being
with
black?
Tyron Woodley, yeah, and even Demetrius Johnson and John Jones. But Floyd Mayweather, biggest draw, right?
Yeah. You can't really say that because...
And he's small too.
Floyd Mayweather, Anderson Silva. John Jones kind of fucked himself. But look at the biggest stars in the world as far as athletes. They're black. I mean, it depends on the sport. You look at football. You look at basketball. I mean, they have no problem. LeBron James has no problem selling shoes. Sometimes it's just not a draw. Doesn't matter if you're black, white, Chinese, Mexican. It's easy to chalk it up to that, though. Sometimes people just don't like you. You're not marketable. Shit happens for whatever reason. It's just not relating to the general public. It's not because your color. It's not because you got shitted out of some opportunity. But it's easy to toss that in the air.
Yeah, it's a very, very deep subject, but
super deep.
Yeah,
we can get balls deep into it when Phil Davis is here.
That'd be great. Yeah,
that's exactly what we're gonna do.
Sounds good. All right, Marky G123. We've seen some fighters have career rejuvenation back into the title contention, such as Arlovsky and Robbie Lawler. Could you see the same thing happening for who we were just talking about, Anderson Silva?
Yeah, we just talked about it because he's one highlight reel knockout away from it because of his star power. That's the way that's going to work. Even though he's older, he's still Anderson Silva, considered one of the greatest pound for pound of all time. So one highlight reel knockout. They need stars. Everyone knows Anderson Silva. Put him on a pay-per-view against Michael Bisping. There you go.
Cool. I'm not sure if we kind of went over this, but just in case, Nola Deed 82, does the UFC need to give the average fans more in-depth look into the up-and-coming, not as well-known fighters to generate some excitement over the fights that don't involve fighter named McGregor, Diaz?
That's their biggest challenge. Yeah. We talked a little bit about it. I think every week they need to have a team who that's their job to pitch the heads of the UFC, whoever it is now, on who they should focus on, who the marketing dollar, who the sponsoring, who the ads and all that stuff, who they need to start gravitating towards and who's the next big thing, and not to overlook guys, because it's all about stars and telling their story. And that's their biggest problem right now, i.e. Amanda Nunes.
All right, Jesse, you want to do one more, or how many?
How many were we at? How many you got there?
We got a bunch, but I
just do two more.
Okay,
pick two. I didn't cover.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's going to be the tougher part. Let me get this long one here. All right, Brendan. Okay, Jesse Contreras, 13. Brendan Schaub, during your short hair days, did anyone ever mistake you for Aaron Hernandez? Both of you being tall, big, tattoos, similar haircut. I could see how some could have thought you were him.
We do, and he has both his arms sleeved. I just have one sleeved.
Well, there you go.
He's a handsome serial killer. Let's be real here. Handsome murder. Yeah, I was in Ralph's, and this is when he was going through it, when they just like apprehended that fucking killer. And I swear to you, there's a black guy behind me, and he's on the phone. He's going, "Nah, man, I'm looking at this motherfucker right now. No, he's here. That motherfucker's here. No, he's out, dog. I swear to God, Hernandez is in front of me buying fucking red vines." And I turn around, I'm like, "What the fuck?" And he thought I was in fucking Hernandez. It's hilarious. True story. And when I was doing Tim Tebow's foundation every year, even last year, when this motherfucker's obviously in prison, people were like, "Hernandez!" People who aren't UFC fans, obviously I'm not that famous. When I'd go by, they're like, "It's in Hernandez!" Dead serious. I'm like, God damn it.
That would be the one time people would mistaken you for sure, because you're with Tim
I'm at
Tebow.
Florida, I'm with Tim Tebow. Yeah. And people were still like, "Hey, Hernandez." And this is when motherfuckers on trial for murder, multiple murders. Mind if I get your autograph? I'm like, "You're sick. You are fucking sick." They'd be like, "Hey, I know you killed all those people. Who throws harder, Tom Brady or Tim Tebow?" Like, get the fuck out of my face. The answer is Tim Tebow. Just kidding. I don't know. But I swear to God, they were asking for his autograph and would ask me questions like that while the motherfucker's on trial for murder.
Madness.
Yeah.
No, you've never been mistaken since, though, right? With the longer hair.
No. He went away, thank God.
Yeah.
I'm kind of doing my thing. Our career's on two different paths.
I kind of went to the Fighter Than Kid Instagram, your Instagram, I'm sorry, to check out some more questions because the other ones sort of covered what we did. How many you want to just
do? One more.
One more? Okay. This is a good one. Knack Attack is asking what your favorite ketogenic meal and dessert is?
Ooh, ketogenic. I mean, I'm pretty simple. I do. I like a nice fillet, like a steak filet mignon, and then just a side of like. I've been super into this buffalo cauliflower, so it's almost like you're eating chicken wings, but it's like buffalo sauce on baked cauliflower.
Really, like chicken wings?
Yeah, like chicken wing sauce on cauliflower.
Yeah.
I mean, but also buffalo wings in the right sauce can be ketogenic. You know that too, yeah.
Well, it sounds like it could be. It's not
it can
like
for sure. If there's no sugar in the sauce, you're good.
Yeah.
Or you can just get the dry rub ones from Whole Foods because I'll ask them, a lot of their dry rub won't have sugar, just spices. You can eat those. I'll go ham on some chicken wings.
I thought you meant the actual cauliflower was the replacement for the chicken wings.
It is.
Oh, it is.
But I'm just saying, I'm not going to have steak and chicken wings. I'm not a goddamn savage. I'll have like a piece of fish and then buffalo cauliflower, or I'll have chicken and then buffalo cauliflower, or I like steak and then the buffalo cauliflower.
Every time I see steak now, I'm hearing
steak
in my mind,
suck?
that you're going to say that afterwards. But
that day's coming up.
Have you tried cauliflower crust pizza?
No.
Dude, I actually make it. You have to try it.
Really?
It's probably the most amazing thing I've ever tasted.
Shit, son, bring some slices.
Yeah, I'll have to make one.
Like Chuck E. Cheese up in this bed.
And it's totally ketogenic. It's like low carb and everything. No sugar.
That sounds really nice.
Yeah.
I'm down for that.
Good stuff.
All right. Is that it, man?
That's it.
All right, guys. Well, hopefully you enjoy UFC 208. Hopefully I'm right. I think it's going to be a fun card. Just the main card. I'm not saying the undercard. I'm not giving it that much credit, but I think 208 is a sleeper card of the year. There are a lot of fun matchups. And like I said, I like Holm and Anderson Silva as the underdogs on this card. There you go. Thanks for listening, guys. We'll keep you updated as far as launching the new channel to get away from the Fighting the Kid. It's just something we have to do, apparently. And again, thank you for sharing. Thank you for telling a friend. I love doing these. The first Big Round live show sold out. We got a bunch more dates coming up that I will have news for you. And also next week we drop, similar to the fucking tee I'm wearing now, the Big Brown Breakdown baseball raglan tees and the dad hats in camo and in black. Those all drop next week, tfatk.com. If you're listening to this right now, Brian Cowan and myself, the Fire Kid is live in San Francisco this Thursday and Friday night. There's might be like 10 tickets for Thursday just got released. They released our comp tickets, so we're not using them for Thursday night. So go get them right now. And then Friday, there's still a few tickets left. Thursday, Friday, San Francisco, Cobb's Comedy Club. We will see you soon. Thanks for listening, guys. Love you.